People often reflect on their mistakes and regrets when they're nearing the end of their life. Some wish they had spent more time with family, worked less, or traveled more. Others, however, end up confessing to crimes that often go hand in hand with a final meal and a lifetime of free electricity. They might have gotten away with it if it weren't for their meddling conscience. Today, we're diving into some of the most shocking deathbed confessions from history. But before we spill the details, why not hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments what other mysteries you want to hear about. For now, listen closely. We don't have much time. In 1974, 17-year-old Amy Billig was deeply immersed in the motorcycle outlaw subculture. It was rough, rowdy, and dangerous, but also alluring. On March 4th of that year, she disappeared. Her family suspected her connection to the motorcycle world might be related to her vanishing. After coming home from school, Amy got dressed and headed out to visit her father at his workplace. She never made it. The search for Amy was extensive, with the whole community of Coconut Grove, Florida, joining in. Apart from her camera, which was found on the side of a highway, no other leads surfaced. Eventually, a lead pointed to the Pagans Motorcycle Club in the Everglades. Paul Branch, a former enforcer for the group, admitted on his deathbed in 1998 that he had picked Amy up, taken her to a party where she allegedly overdosed. He claimed they disposed of her body in the Everglades, where it was left to the alligators. Despite his confession, the Pagans denied involvement, and Amy's family remains unconvinced. William Desmond Taylor was a famous silent film director and actor in the early 1900s. Imagine Clint Eastwood, but from an earlier era. When Taylor was murdered on February 1st, 1922, it shocked both Hollywood and his fans, triggering one of the most high-profile investigations of the time. With no witnesses, the investigators ruled out robbery, as expensive items were left untouched, leading to the theory that it was a crime of passion. No one suspected Margaret Gibson, a former actress and colleague of Taylor's. The investigation mostly focused on others, and her name didn't even appear on the suspect list. However, on her deathbed, Gibson requested a priest and confessed to being responsible for Taylor's death. Using an alias, Pat Lewis, during her later years, her confession was met with skepticism due to the lack of a clear motive and no concrete evidence linking her to the crime. To this day, the case remains unsolved. Reports of the Loch Ness Monster date back to the 6th century, but it wasn't until the 1930s that evidence started appearing. In 1934, during a time of rising interest in the mystery, Colonel Robert Wilson claimed he not only saw something in the water, but managed to capture a photo of it. The picture became known as the surgeon's photo and was believed to be proof of the monster's existence for decades. In the 1980s, skeptics began analyzing the image. One such critic, Stuart Campbell, claimed that whatever was in the water was no more than 2 to 3 feet long. The truth finally came out in the 1990s, when Christian Sperling, near death, admitted that the photo was a hoax. Sperling, along with Wilson and his Loch Ness-obsessed stepfather, Marmaduke Wetherell, had staged the whole thing using a wooden model and a toy submarine. In 1995, a woman was found beaten, burned, and murdered in an abandoned house in Nashville, Tennessee. Though there were credible suspects, no solid evidence could be found, leaving the case cold for almost 15 years. Then, in 2009, a Nashville prison inmate, James Washington, suffered what he believed to be a heart attack or seizure. Believing he was near death, Washington confessed to a prison guard that he had been responsible for the 1995 murder of Joyce Goodner. Washington later recovered and tried to retract his confession, claiming it was just a hallucination. However, when he went to trial, it was revealed that he had known the victim, making it harder to dismiss his confession. After a 3-day trial, Washington was convicted and sentenced to life without parole. Before John Walsh became the host of America's Most Wanted, he was a grieving father. His 6-year-old son, Adam, vanished from a Sears department store on July 27, 1981. Adam's remains were found in a canal 100 miles away from the mall where he was last seen. Several suspects were investigated, including Otis Toole, who eventually confessed to the crime, only to recant his statement. In his final moments, Toole confessed again to his niece, sealing his fate as Adam's killer, though many still have doubts about the case. In 1975, Joan Harrison's body was found in a garage, and it was initially believed that she had fallen victim to the Yorkshire Ripper. Decades later, DNA evidence linked convicted sex offender Christopher Smith to the crime. After his death, authorities found a letter in which Smith expressed his guilt and desire to clear his conscience, though he didn't directly confess. DNA evidence ultimately confirmed his involvement. In 1977, James Brewer shot his neighbor James Carroll, suspecting him of trying to seduce his wife. Brewer and his wife fled to Oklahoma, where they assumed new identities and embraced religion. In 2009, after suffering a stroke, Brewer confessed to the crime, only to survive and face justice. Due to his health, he was found unfit for trial. Finally, in 2004, Geraldine Kelly, on her deathbed, confessed to killing her husband John 14 years earlier. She had stored his body in a freezer and shipped it to Massachusetts, where it remained until her confession led to its discovery. Thanks for watching this video. Before we are ending the video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video.